In this episode, I'd like to share with you a mistake that I made that hit me pretty hard in the heart and also set me pretty straight on this path of ghoster people too. One thing I loved about the ghost hunting team that I worked with is they were very sharp. Very, very sharp. The leader was great at making sure that if we were going to collect evidence, it was going to be worthy evidence. And I loved that. That really sparked that scientific kind of vibe in me. One thing that was really great is as the medium on the team, they would not tell me where it was. It was hush hush. And they wouldn't tell me anything about it until the actual night of the investigation. Now take that one step further. This is what an investigation would look like. For me, I would sit at home and wait for them to call, and they would call, 9, 10 o'clock at night after they had arrived on location, and they would tell me the town it was in. I would then drive to the town, call them and say, I'm here in the town. And then that's when they would give me the address. This was great because it was a statement of this medium doesn't have any information ahead of time. And I got to say, for any ghost hunting teams out there, this is a great technique. It is a great way to make sure that your medium doesn't sit with it ahead of time and tap in, or that you're working with a legitimate medium. Now, this one night was a night where I had made a mistake that really solidified the importance of valuing the souls that we are working with who are stuck. We were at a bar that had a lot of paranormal activity. We were called in as a ghost hunting team because customers were starting to be affected. The people that worked there were affected, and they really wanted this to stop. So we went in there with the full intention of doing a full investigation in the middle of the night, because that's when a bar is quiet. Actually, this one started at like 2, 3 in the morning because we had to wait for the bar to empty. But we went in and we did the full investigation, knowing that we were going to then also work on crossing the individuals over who were stuck. I arrived at the bar at the location, middle of the night, picked up initially an aggressive male on the top floor over by the dance floor, who really just loved to rile people up and get them all frustrated, which is pretty easy to do in a bar late at night for a spirit when they're affecting living people who have been drinking and who can turn aggressive. It doesn't take much for a spirit to really spin them in that direction. So the restaurant did confirm that they had more and more, violent outbursts that had been happening. So I worked with this male reluctantly. He was not, completely ready to go, but I worked with him and crossed him over, helped him to move toward his transition, and he crossed over. I then walked around the building to explore and went into the lower level. That's when I came across the young man that left a mark on my heart permanently. This young man had to be 16, 17 years old. He was clearly from back in the day, at least 60, 70 years earlier, if not more. He was wearing a very simple shirt and cotton overalls type. They were blue, but they weren't blue jeans. They were more of a cotton material. Didn't, have any shoes on. He was clean. He was well put together, but he was very distraught. And I remember getting to the bottom of the stairs and looking at him, and he looked at me and knew that I could see him. And he instantly said, please help me. Please help. Like it was so quick. It was so instant. And I walked right over to him and I said, what's happening? And as it happens many times with a spirit that really wants to cross, they will flash. It's almost like you share space with them, and flashes of images and visions you'll experience of some of the reasons why they're stuck or little bits of their life, it varies every single time. Like I said before, no clearing is, the same as any other clearing. And I got close to him. And when I did, I could see grown adult males, like 40, 50 years old, at least 2 or 3 of them. I knew the room was full. Like I was standing in this dark basement and I was witnessing what had happened to this young man when he passed. And 2 or 3 of them were just beating him to a pulp. And I knew that this young man had died in this building. I knew that he had died. He was beaten to death. There's no way around it. And when I looked at him, he was heartbroken. And I remember feeling like, why? And because we're here in a world where, 1 + 1 is 2, this is this, here's the facts. And years and years and years ago, and still sometimes to this day, I will say, we don't have all of the facts and things happen and nobody knows people's motivations. This young man knew their motivations. He said, I was different. And they found out. And I just knew and I understood what he was saying. So they beat him to death. That's it. As cruel and as heartless as that is, they beat him to death. And he looked at me and he said, will you please help me? And I said, absolutely. Absolutely. Here comes the mistake. I was relatively new to the ghost hunting team. I had only been on maybe 5 or 6 investigations, and I had gotten used to the equipment and I had gotten used to being on the team. And the mistake was this: when this young man who was reaching out to me said, can you help me? I said, yes. And then I followed it up with, is there any way you can help us by creating some activity so we can catch it, so we can get some evidence of you being here? And he looked at me and quickly and said, yes, I'll go do that right now. And he disappeared. Now we all have audio on. We all have our own audio recorders. Each of us have one strapped to our arms. And I was in the basement along with someone else, and there was a few people upstairs. And when this is all said and done, you can clock what is said on each and what happens in all the different rooms according to the audio, because they're all in sync. So I said to the young man, yes, can you help with some evidence? Can you manifest any activity so we can maybe get it on camera or something like that? And he said yes, and he disappeared. And I knew he had left to gone and do that. And so I said on the audio, he disappeared. I think he's somewhere in the building trying to help with evidence. Still thinking I'm doing an okay thing here. He did. He went upstairs, and the leader of the group had a camera that was sitting next to him that the flash started to charge and go off, and then it would charge and then it would go off, and it was doing it on its own. A few moments after it stopped, the young man showed up in front of me again in the basement, and that's where you can hear on the audio, he's back. And it was this second time that he looked at me that I realized what I had done was not cool. He looked at me and I felt like maternal toward him. I felt like a mom for that moment. And he said, please, what else do I have to do? Please help me. And I thought, I'm horrible. It hit me. I'm like, why would I ask this young man who's suffering so greatly, finally has this opportunity for someone to help him? And I say to him, oh, yeah, can you help us with some evidence first? Would you do that with a living person who knew that you were going to rescue them? No. And that's when it really hit hard. I'm sharing this experience with you for a very important reason. We all make mistakes, but if we can grow from them and learn from them, and that's exactly what I did. This is one of many, many moments that solidified in my heart that ghosts are people too. And it changed my perspective. It changed how I approached these situations. And never again will I ever connect with a spirit that says, please help me, and say, yeah, but first. No, not going to happen. Not for all the evidence in the world, because it just doesn't matter in comparison to helping this young man. I helped him as fast as I could. I, for the moment, had to set aside my guilt and that pit in my stomach of, wow, I can't believe I just did that. I set that aside. I helped him cross over. And there was another energy in the room. Once this young man crossed, that other energy came closer. And I don't know how to explain it, but it helped me feel okay again, to say, I'm not going to let this drag me down. I'm going to remember this moment, and moving forward, hopefully this lesson, I'm going to back up from the word hopefully, absolutely, this lesson has brought a level of commitment in me that any chance I can get, I will help. Because in the end, ghosts are people too.
This podcast is brought to you by the SAGE Method, the most comprehensive and down-to-earth intuitive development training available. Is this your year? Is it finally your time to increase your intuition, bring in more abundance, and experience the bliss you deserve? If yes, then join thousands of students across the world for a 7-week journey to uncover your natural, beautiful, and strong intuition. Visit us at thesagemethod.com for more information.